Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're doing the BIOS guide or the review for the DCS World module, the Mig-15bis. So to keep it in line with the other reviews that we've been doing, we're going to use the same structure. 1. Capability. We're going to look at weapons, sensors, nav and miscellaneous. 2. Visual effects inside the cockpit and outside the cockpit. We're going to rate that between 1 and 5, 5 being the best, and this will allow us to compare it with other modules that we've reviewed in DCS World. If you want to see the full list so you can look at them all, please check out the score sheet link within this video description. This has my scores and also the other scores given by members from GR, so you get other opinions. 3. Sound effects inside the cockpit and outside the cockpit. Again, rated 1 to 5. 4. Interactivity and detail. Again, rated 1 to 5. This is inside the cockpit, how we interact with the aircraft, how many buttons and knobs can we press, how does it feel when we do that, how are the systems behind those buttons and knobs, and so on. 5. Flight model. Again, rated 1 to 5. Not necessarily how realistic it flies compared to the real aircraft, that is just something we expect, but I'm looking at how immersive is the flight model, how does it make you feel that you're flying a real aircraft and not a video game, and if there's any obvious problems that can take away your immersion. 6. Difficulty. 1 to 5. 1 being easy, 5 being difficult. This will not be counted towards the final score for the aircraft, but it's just to give you an idea of how easy or hard it is. 7. History. Since the aircraft has been released to present, how many problems has it had? Some of the modules have had problems with the ever-evolving DCS, some have been pretty problem-free. Welcome to the Mig-15bis cockpit. So this was in the early 50s, the premier fighter for the Soviets. Its contemporary adversary was the F-86 Sabre, and they both saw action against each other in the Korean War. In terms of weapons, we're relatively limited in our capability. We've got 2 pylons we can use, and each of those pylons can carry a 100 kilo unguided slick bomb or a 50 kilo derivative, or fuel tanks at 300, 400 or 600 litres. Our air-to-air weaponry was a very odd mix. It was 2 times NR-23s, that's 2 times 23mm cannon, and 1 times N-37, that's a massive 37mm cannon. The 23mm are high velocity, the 37 is a relatively low velocity but packed a massive punch in its explosive power and was primarily designed to take down bombers. The weapons doctrine is very different to the F-86. The F-86, if you remember, had 6 times half-inch M3 machine guns, whereas this had 2 medium and 1 large cannon. We've done a full series of comparison videos of this in the F-86 if you'd like to watch that. It was actually really interesting. It turns out that although the different doctrine in weapons, the 2 aircraft put out almost exactly the same amount of lead per second as each other, and they can do just about equal amounts of damage, we found. Note that although these cannons are very powerful, they're limited ammo, 80 rounds each for the NR-23s and only 40 rounds for the N-37. With regards to weapon deployment, unlike the F-86, we do not have any radar for ranging. Instead, our ranging is done purely by wingspan calculation. Like the Sabre, we do have a gyro assisted gun sight. No HUD obviously in these aircraft, we just have the basic gun sight. So that gives us very basic lead calculation based on our aircraft movements and ranging by optics. With the gyro engaged, it's only really suitable for non-maneuvering targets or only lightly maneuvering targets. When it comes to a high G dogfight, we'd often go to the fixed and shoot from the hip because the gyros just cease to function. We also have a backup iron sight just in case things get close and personal. Like I said, we have no type of radar in this aircraft, unlike the Sabre. We also have no countermeasures. We do have signal flares, pretty standard for the Soviets at the time. Regards navigation, we have 1 ARC ADF direction finding set, which you can see a panel here, and we've got a panel back there. This allows us to find our way to radio beacons, usually on friendly runways. It's a 2-channel system, which is good. We can switch from far too near beacons, and this gives us in a way almost a very basic ILS type all-weather landing, although you've got to really know what you're doing to be able to do that. Maximum speed is noted as Mach 0.95, and just like the Sabre, we have fluid compressibility problems as we near the sound barrier. This is a subsonic aircraft. The engine, interestingly, was a modified Neen engine supplied by the British and uprated for this aircraft. So that's all I want to say for the capability. Next is the graphics. So first we're going to look around in the cockpit, and as ever the best thing I can do really is to zoom in and show you guys. The module was out in early 2016, so it's 3.5 years old now. Bow looks okay. As we start getting down into the front dash here, you can see the textures just aren't, they don't quite cut it now compared with your F-14, compared with your Hornet. It's been left behind in terms of textures down here. In terms of quality, it reminds me a lot of the F-86 actually. I think they were out, released at more or less the same time. I think they were made by the same people, both made by ED or Bell Simtech. Pretty good detail down here. Have a look outside. Textures break up a bit when you get close to them, as you can see. fairly solid model all round. It's getting a bit dated in the cockpit here compared with the newer aircraft. I think it's going to be a 2.5 in the cockpit. Outside, I'm going to say that's a 3.5. So for visuals, I'm going to average, I think, 3 out of 5 for this aircraft. Next, we're going to look at the sounds inside the cockpit and outside of the cockpit. I've got a pretty decent structure for rating the sounds now, relatively empirically. So the first thing is inside the cockpit, I want to hear that I can hear all of the RPM range of the aircraft. I don't want it to be like a Hornet where you just have no idea what the engine is doing, you know, in terms of its RPM range. I need to be able to hear it. So let's give it a go. It's a very slow revving engine, whopping great compressor, centrifugal compressor wheel on the front, so spool time very high. Oh, it sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, it's whiny, it's whingy, it's nasally, but that, you know, that is the type of engine it is. Really good, really good. Volume, it's just about right without having to kind of modify the volume. I have to speak up a little bit just as I like it. It's important that all the sounds that the aircraft makes are in the right mix. So we'll study that as we go on. So that's really good. Let's listen outside. Yeah, really happy with that. It's got everything in there. Regards volume, it is a little quieter than the big engine, just a bit quieter than the F-15 and the Su-27, the F-18, but it sits just right, just where you want it to be. It is obviously much quieter in real life, so we're pretty happy with the external volume as well. Next we'll get airborne, and we want to hear first of all ground rumble. We needed to tell us, the sound engine to tell us that we are making contact with the ground, because we can't feel it, so let's go and check that. This is the first time I've flown this for a long time. I'm very excited, probably about a year. I can hear ground rumble already. It's good in the mix. Really happy with that already. I've got to work out where my speedo is. I think that's it there. Yep. Can't remember what the rotation speed is. I'm going to guess about 250. Oh, lovely rotation. That feels good. Right, got to remember how to use the gear now. So up, flaps up, and then they're going to neutralise the hydraulics. It's all coming back to me now. Okay. Right, so the next thing is I want to make sure I can hear wind noise, linear wind noise. It's something I need as a virtual pilot. I need the sound model to tell me there's wind noise. So let's get the beans on and let's get the speed up and see if we can hear some wind noise. Already I think I can hear the wind noise. It's just right in the mix. I can still hear the engine. I wish all of the other DCS modules are like this. The mix is absolutely essential. It's getting louder, it's getting louder. Yeah, that's definite wind noise. You can hear that well, can't you? Exactly as I would like it to be. So that's bang on the money. They've got that bang on. The next is I want to be able to hear the G noise and the alpha noise as separate noises. I need this to be able to translate it to me through the sound engine. A real pilot can feel it through his seat. We can't. We need a good sound engine to tell us. So, first of all, we're going to get the speed up. Oh, it's a fast plane this is. It's fast. And I'm going to build up some G. Keep the alpha low. And you can hear him struggling to breathe there. Just perfect in the mix. I can still hear the wind. I can hear the engine. Perfect. Next, we're going to try slow down and try some high alpha. And what I want to hear is, I want to hear the wings buffeting. That's the air brake, by the way, and that's good. That sounds good. I want to hear the disturbance in the air. I want to hear the separation. So let's get some high alpha. I want to hear it progressively. I don't want it to just jump on like the A10 angle of 20. I want to hear it progressive. I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it. I can definitely hear it. fairly high-pitched sound. Ooh, sugar. Yeah, you can hear it there, 10 degrees onwards. It's really obvious. Excellent. Exactly as a module should be. Try once more. Yeah, 10 degrees over. Absolutely perfect. All the feedback I could ever want to be able to drive this plane well. And like I said, I just wish the other modules had this. Right, next we're going to look at, I just noticed I did an over G there, and it sounded really good, so let's go, most of the modules don't have this cool sound effect. Let's see if we can get this. You see how it all goes quiet and fuzzy? Oh, sugar. Again, really, really good sound. Why don't the other modules have this? Beggars belief, well they don't. I think we're going to crash. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Right, let's take off. Gun sounds. Gun sounds are important. When it's your main armament, you know, it's not as important when it's your secondary armament. When it's your main armament, you want big, chunky, reverby guns. You don't want silly little F-14 guns. So let's get in the air again. Lovely. Right, let's try and remember how to use these guns. So I think it's the arming, these arming. Press and hold, yep. Okay, I'm learning this now. It's the same in the Mig-15. I just learned the hard way. Guns loaded. I'm pretty sure that's the safety. Yep, it is. Let's have a go. Yes, that's the 23 mils. Ooh, that's the third. Oh, this is what I mean. Listen to those guns. It sounds beautiful. It sounds bassy. And feel the whole thing shake. Why don't other aircraft have that? It frustrates me so much. Such a missed opportunity. Sounds beautiful. Watch this. Get some. There's 37 mils. Pew, pew, pew. Look at that. Ah, absolutely beautiful. This can play something. Wonderful sounds. Just makes you want to fly it. Prepared to get some, sir. This building here, I don't like the look of it. Get some. Get some. Oh, tell me that's not cool. Woo! That's fun, right? Really, really good sounds there. Happy with that. Low power flyby. Spool up. Wait half an hour. High power flyby. Fine. It's a little bit quiet, but again, you know, we're not driving F-15 here. I'll accept if it's a little bit quiet outside. Lovely, thoroughly good sound engine. Sorry, on this module. Really, this and the F-86. I really wish the developers, the third-party developers, would just listen to the neutrality and the mix in planes, in the Bell Simtech planes like this. They get it so good. And follow that example for their modules. I'll be a happy man if that was done. Got to give it a number. It's not quite as advanced as maybe the F-18 sound engine, but it's bang on. There's certainly no fault in it. I'm going to give it a good solid 4 out of 5 for sound. Next, we might as well jump straight on to the flight engine. The flight model. Mixing all my words up today. So if we start with the basics, we've got the interaction with the ground. Everything feels really good down there. It's a very low mounted aircraft. You just have to watch your tail and whatnot. But everything feels good down there. No obvious errors. Up in the air, trim's really nice. Roll. Now roll is terrible in this thing. It's like a Spitfire. Such bad roll. This is historically correct, obviously. Tiny little, weedy little ailerons you can see. I don't think they were even hydraulically boosted. Big heavy aeroplane, highly swept back wings. You can see the fences there. There's the need there to keep a longitudinal airflow because the wings are so swept back, obviously, for the speed that it achieves. And all those things together means terrible roll rate, and it's a major flaw in the Mig-15 design, especially compared to the F-86. So that's just how it is. Can't mark it down for that. That's realistic. In terms of all-out speed, I know this isn't really judging the flight model, but it is a really fast aircraft. It's a much higher, relatively higher power to weight ratio. than the F-86, more powerful engine and a lighter airframe. So kinetically, it's superior to the F-86 in terms of climb, in terms of all the acceleration, in terms of speed. Just realised I forgot to show my controls. In terms of what it feels like, which is the most important thing with the module, it's got to feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then the makers have done their job wrong. It's something that's impossible to quantify, which is why it's hard to make. Some module makers like Belsimtech, like ED, they know their stuff. They prioritise feel, and that's why their modules are always good, the best to fly. And it just feels bang on. Feels bang on. Again, I can't justify it, I can't quantify it. I can feel the weight of this plane. I can feel the way it moves. It feels like a real plane. It doesn't feel like a video game at all. Really, really good. Feedback from the flight model is ace. It tells me everything I'm doing. It tells me when the plane's happy. It tells me when the plane's not happy. That's in terms of vibrations, in terms of sounds, in terms of what it does in comparison to where I've got my stick. Everything is just right there. In terms of fast work, so in terms of high G. Let's get some speed up. Very aggressive, and you can see it's got that lovely fade. Unlike a lot of the planes, unlike heat blur modules and some of the other ones, you're given a lot of chance to get out of overgeeing. Look how much chance I've got to get out of overgeeing. It's very, very conservative, and it allows me to feel exactly where the limit is. I know I passed out earlier, but that's just because I'm a crap pilot. See that? I can balance it right on the edge of 6G. Remember, we've got no G suits, so 6G is your maximum. Really, really good. Top notch, top notch. In terms of... Oh, God. Oh, we're okay. You've got to be watching negative G in this thing, the same as the Sabre. Next, let's look at, I guess, maneuverability. It is an aggressive plane, so I've got to really be careful not to over G here. Oh, it just feels good. It just feels really good. I feel like I could dance between those tiny little low houses. Bucket loads of power. Buckets of power in this thing. Beautiful. I feel like I could outmaneuver a Mirage. Probably could. It's so powerful. It's almost too powerful. It's really trying to over G all the time. Having to come off the throttle all the time if I'm going to actually want to maneuver this thing. It's just so fast. It's been amazing to fly these things in the real world. Really quite spectacular. Got to be careful of the slow roll rate, of course. It's pretty forgiving. Yeah, it's pretty forgiving. Just bunny hops a bit, but it doesn't do anything wrong. It doesn't drop a wing. Very forgiving module. Let's test it to the limit. Maybe doing this a little bit low. But what the hell? Woo! Oh, this isn't going to end well, is it? The engines are still spooling, and I'm like 1,000 feet. Oh, that's nice. Come on, control. Yeah, nice. Really good stuff. A little bit of shake there in the cockpit. Not too much. Not, the F-14 drives me nuts. It's so shaky. It's just right. Just right. Just right. And that summarises it up, really. Just right. I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 10. It's not the most exciting... Oh, my engine's gone. I think we heard that banging when I was... Better get them gear out. Better get those flaps down. When we heard that banging, I think that was the engine stalling when I was kind of tail sliding. That may end badly. We'll see. I'm not sure if we've got hydraulics. I'm not sure if the gear's actually out or not. Oh, this ain't going to end well. Okay. You know what? I've done worse landings on airfields. Nice parachute, mate. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, good solid, 4 out of 10. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but Perfectly happy with 4 out of 10. It's a good score for it. Next is interactivity and detail. It's interacting with the cockpit. How many buttons can we press? How many are not modelled? And so on. And from what I remember, it's a good year since I've studied this module. I don't think anything there actually... I don't think anything there is actually pressable, so I'm not going to rate it down for that. Don't even know what that is. Oxygen, I think. Yeah, that's... all these work. That's the Ranger for the sight. Air brakes. Hydro booster. No idea what that is. Cool though. NDBs. Something to do with pre-programmed NDBs maybe? For the ADF? Unknown. Trim. Channel changes for the ADF. Loaders for the guns. Various doodahs. Aileron trim. What's that? Engine fire extinguisher. Not going to do that this time. Gear. Has it got an override? Yes! You know you're in a decent aircraft when you can friggin' do that. Low rider! Look at that. Supercap to space! What else we got? Yes, okay. Yes, you've made your point. Oh, is that knob not turnable? Is it a knob? I'm not sure that's actually a knob. No, that's your barometric altitude, isn't it? That's a radio altitude. I'm not actually sure that's a knob, so I'm not going to mark it down for that. Stopwatch and your chronometer, everything works. I'm not going to go through everything. Like I said, I've been through this in detail. You've got a full hour video covering the cockpit of this, and I'm pretty sure I couldn't find anything that didn't work there. Another thing, I don't think that's a knob again. I think that's just a remover thing to remove the panel. It works up here, doesn't it? All the circuit breakers work. Everything works around here. Oh, what's that? Emergency gear release. I wonder what happens if we press that. Ah. Oh. Well, I guess their gravity dropped. ADF. Everything should work from what I remember. Yeah. What's that? System filling valve. No idea what that even is, but let's turn it on, I say. These, I think they're going to be rheostats for the light. Oxygen gauge down here. Yep, that works. Back here. This is something to do with a backup ADF or a backup radio. It's a long time since I've studied this. But I'm pretty sure I've been through this and it all works. Change the crystal there. Yeah, that all works. The only thing that doesn't work is the AN there. Otherwise, that is all. We've got a canopy release. No, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy with it. It doesn't feel as good as some of the modules, and I know it's a hard thing to justify, but you know. Oh, I think I've jettisoned the engine. You know, but the buttons aren't quite as highly modelled. All the systems there in the background from when we studied it, I believe. So I think that's a solid 4 out of 5 there. It's not perfect. It's no, you know, A10C, but that's a solid 4 out of 5. There's not that much stuff that's actually missing for what it's got. So that's going to bring us on to difficulty. Now to actually fly the aircraft it's relatively easy. Like I said, it's a very low mounted aircraft, so you've just got to be a little bit careful. Well, it really is now. When you're on the ground, but once you get used to that, you know, it's fine. To actually fly in the air is perfectly easy as long as you keep your speed up. You're never going to stall. Like I said, it is very powerful and you don't have a G-suit, so blacking out is actually quite a problem in this. Luckily, like I said, it's very conservative in how it blacks out, so you get plenty of time to think about it. And again, that's a concession I always argue for as a virtual pilot. We can't feel what the aircraft's doing. We need a good conservative model there that gives us plenty of warning before it blacks out. It's one thing that bugs the hell out of me with some of the modules. Something to be aware of. Using, I mean, the weapons obviously really simple. You drop a bomb by clicking the bomb drop. You fire a cannon by firing the thing. But to actually use them properly, to actually go in and learn how to do a proper bomb profile and get a bomb on target in an aircraft like this, you know, it's pretty much as hard as using a Spitfire or something. It is really difficult. And so we can't really say it's an easy plane to go in and use those guns on ground targets and use those bombs on ground targets. In that respect, it does require a certain amount of training. I think we're going to rate it, what, a 2.5 for difficulty? No, I think because it is the mastering, I think it's going to be a 3 on difficulty. Because it's going to take a while to master that. So I'd say, yeah, it is completely suitable for a beginner. If you're a beginner, get in here, get a MiG-15, you'll absolutely love it and have a blast. But to master it, it's going to take a lot of skill. You know, there's no CCIP there, there's no CCRP, there's nothing to help you there. So we're going to go at 3 out of 5 for difficulty. Next is the history. So it's been out here for 3.5 years, and again, I apologise, it's simply not a plane I've got to fly enough. I will do now. Now I remember how awesome it is. I'm going to start flying it all the time, or whenever I can. But that said, I just haven't been involved in it for the last 3.5 years, so I can't tell you what problems it's had. Again, I need you guys here, the community, to come and help me out and tell me what problems it's had over the last 3.5 years. I'll like that on the YouTube, so they go to the top. And then we can work together to tell people if it's been problematic or if it hasn't. I get the feeling, because it's A, Bell SimTech module, and B, it's just, you know, relatively simple overall, it's probably had a very easy time with very few problems. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine I'm probably right there. That's all I've got to say. It's a really easy review to do. It's a relatively simple aircraft. Great fun, great flight model, great sound engine, okay graphics, pretty good, you know, certainly not the worst. So, yeah, I insist you go and spend your money on it, really. Have fun.